Hey everyone. Hey Ryan, it's great to see you back here for another episode of Quick Bites. For any of you who may have forgotten, my name is Sydney Gates. I'm on the sales team at HighByte, and I'm joined here by Ryan Clavette, who is one of our sales engineers. Today's topic, Ryan, I'm really excited about. It's going to be centered around the concept and the importance of scalability. So we say the word scalability all the time. So much so it starts to feel a little bit diluted and maybe a little buzzwordy. So why exactly do we talk about scalability so much?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sydney. Simply put, scalability is one of the biggest obstacles we see today in industrial data use cases. Other methods of achieving industrial use cases oftentimes are inefficient and lead to large amounts of technical debt, most notably when it comes to scaling. So I would say like monolithic solutions that were developed for a small scope of a use case end up having a lot of development hours, custom code that simply build monolithic solutions that are not easily scalable and maintainable over time as you start to achieve your use cases and ambition of many sites. This can be most noticeably seen in like stretching like SCADA or historians or even IoT platforms kind of beyond their intended use to try to fit data ops use cases into those solutions.
Yeah, we see that all the time. And it looks like here you have scalability shown through a few different lenses. Is that accurate? And how would you define these lenses that we see on our screen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first lens that we'll be primarily focusing on today is the horizontal scaling. So that is what I would call kind of taking one payload to many payloads at a single deployment or single plant. That second lens is more about enterprise scaling, so taking what you built at the first plant and repeating that same use case at the secondary location, and obviously the maintenance of that at the enterprise is another important factor. So I think that will probably be focused on more of a second video, but we'll introduce some key concepts to that enterprise scale today. The third would be scaling organizationally. So I would say that's adopting the same tools, the same methodology of data ops to achieve other use cases with other parts of your organization. And then usage scale. So similar to that third bullet, being able to take those same practices to apply to other use cases that might be similar data points.
Right. Okay. So that's a helpful overview. It puts a lot of things into perspective, and obviously each lens is important in its own right. And when teams think about scalability, what else should they be taking into consideration?
Yeah, to summarize quickly, recognizing that industrial data use cases are different. It's not simply something you design once and set it in the corner and let it run for forever. Generally, it takes an iterative approach where you build something, review with your consumers, making sure they're able to solve those problem statements and usage and analytic of the data. And obviously recognizing that systems are going to change, requirements are going to change, and there's going to be new definitions or updates that need to happen to those use cases to sort of life cycle and keep up with the evolving changes around the data. So I would say to kind of summarize those inefficient methods, leave organizations with a lot of custom technical debt, custom coded solutions to manage over time. So we feel our approach is much more efficient in that retrospect.
Right. So it's kind of like future proofing your approach. And I think you mentioned earlier that sometimes teams can stretch other tools and solutions to their limits, and those can fail to scale. So can you show me why the Intelligence Hub doesn't bump up against those limitations and why it's kind of that missing piece?
Absolutely. So kind of to set the scene a little bit, I'll be looking at a use case that involves taking real-time power consumption data, in my case from our historian, which is Pi, and outputting to our unified namespace and MQTT broker in a standard way. So we take very much a configuration or low code approach, meaning that we're going to give you a set of basically stages and functionality that you can basically build through the user interface and not have to roll your sleeves up and develop and code certain parts of the use case. So my use case starts with, let me actually put this in debug mode where we can kind of step through the pipeline stage to stage. So here's my read stage. This is just reading a single well, where we then take a model definition and we're basically conforming that to how we want the data to land in our source system, or our target system rather. So in here, I have basically a object that I'm pulling out the power consumption. I'm modeling that and outputting that, as you can see here, in this standard object. So there's kind of our logical UNS that we kind of built. One of the key things that's really different about how we build use cases in the Intelligence Hub is kind of this use of dynamic metadata. So in this exercise, what I'm doing is I'm saying in the output of MQDT topic, I'm saying reference event.value.path metadata. And why that's important is this is basically mapped in our model to our pi hierarchy, essentially, or a path of where our pi asset existed. We do a little bit of transforms within the model, and then we're basically calling a reference here. So what that means is we can send many payloads at this pipeline, and it's always going to dynamically inspect what we're telling it here, and break that out into the corresponding target that you see here.
Very cool. It does only show one data point here. Is there any chance you can show me how you would scale this across multiple data points, make it a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. So scalability, or kind of taking use cases from one to many payloads, happens at many layers. In this case, I can control this pretty easily from my connectivity layer. So within our Pi connection, we have some specific input types and usage of, in this case, the template name of our core assets. So what that basically means is I can query many assets in this single input, just using Pi's built-in query language. So in this case, I now have many wells that I want to do the same thing to, so I can associate that to my pipeline in a second. Other solutions that might not have this luxury of serving up many data points in one go, we do have the ability to template objects, which basically means we can pass parameters into the input definitions, both kind of statically with hand edited parameters, or dynamically from external sources. So that's really popular with like SQL databases, like maybe we're driving like the tag names from an external source and just kind of taking again from one single configuration to our full payload definition. So what that looks like from the user's perspective, again, the iterative approach where I'm the data engineer kind of building this definition. All I need to do in this case is I need to go find my my Pi environment in my references panel. I need to go find my all wells, and I'll just map that in place of the single well input, save it, and that's all I need to do, because I've already kind of gone through that process of modeling and getting this thing built to how my consumers want it. So what that kind of looks like on the other end when we write to our target is, because of that use of path metadata, we're able to kind of dynamically look at the data coming in from Pi from that metadata input, and build out our topic tree sort of automatically. So in this case, we have two different areas, Clear Fork and Odessa, and each well was kind of correspondingly organized and built out by that dynamic reference on the right here. So not the probably the full scope of what an enterprise oil and gas field would look like, but you get the idea that we just quickly iterated and scaled from one to many data points here.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and very quick. So I think it would be even better if we could see more examples of scalability. I know we're gonna break this up into a couple parts, so maybe you can show that in part two. And I do want to call out that we did recently find out from our customers who reported completing projects at a rate of 339% faster, which is just a crazy number. It blows my mind when they're using the Intelligence Hub. And I will link that case study from IDC in this video description. There's a lot of really cool data points there. So if you're watching this and you're curious what else we found out, please go check it out. And with all that being said, thank you, Ryan. I know we have so much more to show, so we'll see you all in part two.